Let me read to you a passage from the 18th chapter of St. Luke's Gospel, verses 35 to 43. It's the Gospel for Monday of the 33rd week in Ordinary Time. St. Luke writes, "As Jesus approached Jericho, a blind man was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard the crowd going by, he asked what was happening. They told him, 'Jesus of Nazareth is passing.' He called out, 'Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me.' Those who led the way rebuked him and told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the more, 'Son of David, have mercy on me.' Jesus stopped and ordered the man to be brought to him. When he came near, Jesus asked him, 'What do you want me to do for you?' 'Lord, I want to see,' he replied. Jesus said to him, 'Receive your sight. Your faith has healed you.' Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus, praising God. When all the people saw it, they also praised God." That's from Luke chapter 18, verses 35 to 43. What does it suggest to us? Well, it suggests doing our best. What do I mean? Well, let me begin by an example. It is the last quarter of the 19th century, and a young couple just outside Sydney has just bought a property in a fairly remote location in Burragrang Valley. The valley is not far from Sydney, but because of lack of roads, it is quite difficult of access. The couple have 2 infants, with 1 more on the way. They moved down there, and over the years that follow, they build up the farm, raising a large family. They love their farm, but, as is often said about Australia, they suffer from the tyranny of distance. Many things they must do without, because those things are far away. The education of the children is less than it could have been were they elsewhere. They do not have the medical attention they used to have. And it is a great event when a road is built from their area to the nearest town outside their valley. Now, in giving this example, I am referring to the fact that ours is an order of reality which is governed by space and time, and the limitations of space and time deprive us of enjoying certain benefits. It is a law of our material condition that while we enjoy some benefits in our existing situation, our enjoyment of many other benefits will depend on the limitations of time and space being overcome. This applies also to the benefits of religion. At the dawn of history, God promised redemption from the fall of our first parents. The descendant of the woman would crush the serpent's head, but thousands upon thousands of years would pass till the revelation granted to Abraham, and then the best part of 2 millennia would pass till the arrival of the Messiah himself. It seems a slow route to be following to attain the salvation of the world. But God respects the limitations and laws of his creation. Blessings reach us amid the limitations of space and time. In our gospel today that I read earlier, a blind beggar sits by the roadside begging. He has been many years in his blindness. He is suddenly fortunate, for he is told that Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. Now is the time, and he, Jesus, is not far away. If he does not act now, the blind beggar, the time will pass, and the distance will prevent his gaining the blessing. So he shouts. These things are obvious, but they bear consideration. If that beggar had not been sitting by that roadside at that particular time, and if Jesus had not chosen to take that route at that point of time, the beggar would have remained in his blindness. Much depended on a coincidence of factors governing space and time, all of which, of course, fall within the guiding providence of God. If the beggar had not made the very best of his circumstances at that precise point, nothing would have happened. If the beggar had not inquired from the passing crowd what it was that was going on, he would not have been led to impose himself vociferously on the crowd and make his voice heard above the din. His voice carried and overcame the distance. Having heard his cries to Jesus, Christ stopped and directed that the man be brought to him. Then there followed his complete cure, and his following Jesus along the road. He became a disciple, and we might say that a great deal depended on a coming together of factors of time and place. It also depended on the beggar, and even Christ himself, making the best use of that propitious moment. This is, we might say, a picture of the workings of God in the world he has created. There were vast numbers of persons whom Christ did not reach despite his tremendous efforts, because, though he was God, he took to himself a human nature with all its limitations. God chose to respect the restraints inherent in his own creative and redeeming work, but he also maximized its possibilities. Now, what has this to do with each of us? Well, we too, aware of the constraints of time and place, must make the very best use of time and place to make Christ our life and the life of others. Just before he ascended into heaven, our Lord entrusted his disciples with a tremendous responsibility. It was to go to the whole world and make disciples of all the nations. They were to bring him to all those represented by the blind man of our gospel today. We must every day set about maximizing both time and place to tell every man and woman, "Come, he is calling you." Life is short, so time limits us. Space and place also limit our options, but we must maximize the possibilities, as did the blind beggar. This applies not only to our own benefiting from the blessings of Christ, but also to our bringing those blessings to others. We have a pressing work to do in life, the work of God, which is, as St. John says in his Gospel in chapter 6, to believe in the one he has sent. Let us do our best to surmount the things that can prevent us from knowing Christ our life, and that can prevent others from knowing him too. This is what the blind beggar did, and as a result, he followed our Lord along the road as his disciple. Let us take our cue from him then.